So I've been painting poppies and hens for quite a few years now. They're one of my favorite themes in my art, but I've never painted on anything in my home or on a large scale. And I decided last week I would try that. I was so inspired by my beautiful poppies this year that I thought, oh, they make me so happy when they're here for a month or so that why don't I bring some of my poppies inside permanently? So I decided I would paint them on an old cabinet that I really didn't like in my kitchen. So I'm going to show you how to do these kind of folk art inspired stylized poppies, and I hope you will want to try painting something in your own home. Hi everyone, it's Rosanna. Today we're going to be doing kind of more of a homey creative project because I have not been doing my regular art. I've just been doing a lot of things that I put off for summertime because painting seems like a summertime project, and I've needed to repaint my kitchen for many years. We have a lot of flies that come in with the dogs, and the fly spots had gotten to kind of a critical point for me where I could not stand it anymore. But I do have a quite involved kitchen, so I did put it off as long as I could. Now, I have never painted on furniture before. This was something I had thought about for a long time, but had not been quite brave enough to actually try. But this cabinet that I started with is one that was really probably my least favorite kind of piece of furniture in my house at this point. It was a really cheap, probably like a 60s version of a Hoosier kitchen cabinet. So just not nice, not nice to begin with. And then someone had like painted it with fake wood grain. And then I painted over it in a color that I kind of instantly regretted. I really wish, I don't know why I never stopped to take before photos, but it's a real problem I have, and I've done so many home projects over the years, and we have so few before photos. So I'm sorry, I did find one. I might pop it up. It's a kooky picture of me with the cabinet kind of in the background, but it's just it's kind of a nothing piece, but it does, it's functional. It does hold what I need it to hold. So I thought, well, I really wouldn't be losing anything to try it out on this because I was going to repaint it anyway, and I thought, if I've got everything out, I might as well just see what happens. And the worst thing would just be that I would go over it with a couple coats of paint and just, say, well, I tried it and it didn't work out. But actually it did work out, and it was a little bit frightening to start with this first panel. I was a little shaky because I'm just painting freehand and haven't really I think I've mentioned before, but not all of you have seen all my videos, but I typically do very small paintings. So I really work on like 5x7 is honestly like as big as I ever go with a drawing or a painting. I just, for some reason, I get really nervous, and I get like my hands get more shaky, and I know that that's something that you can work on as a painter, is like kind of loosening your grip and being, holding the paintbrush, like instead of really gripping it tightly, holding it loosely, and all of that is partly I think it contributes to style, but also it helps you to not probably develop carpal tunnel and things down the road. So I thought this would be just and it was, especially since I'm painting above my head, and so that was definitely a different feeling, and I couldn't hold the brush like I normally do, and I really probably should have. I'm just on a step stool, and I was really reaching, like when I go up to these upper panels, I realized because I did step up on my countertop a few times to do a few things, and I was like, yeah, I have a lot more control when I'm higher up, and can, instead of having my hands over my head. But I decided that since I wanted this to have a really folky feel, a primitive feel, that I would just kind of embrace the the lack of control that I had painting above my head. So I used that, I think, to kind of give me the style that I wanted, because I love folk art, but I tend to, like most people, like you tend to, as you do something, if you were like embroidering or whatever, as you get more skilled with it, your embroidery is more polished. And with my painting, I have found that I kind of like some of my earlier stuff when I didn't, and I just hadn't done as much, and stuff looked a little bit more naive. And so this is one way, like painting at a kooky angle is one way to kind of disadvantage yourself, and it gave my paintings here on this cabinet more of that primitive folky look that I like. And I don't work in acrylic. I'm just using craft acrylics, and there is a section, I should have said this much earlier, but there's a section coming up in like 5 minutes or so where I will just paint some poppies and a picture on a piece of paper for you, so that you can just kind of see how very, very simple it is in actual real time. And I thought, I didn't practice on paper before I did this, but I thought probably it would have been good if I had done at least one little painting. It just takes 10 minutes or so to put something on a piece of construction paper and just test out the idea that you have. Anyway, this chicken, though, I'm just adding some like pink and green to it, just for kind of, I guess, a whimsical look. I love a little pink on a white chicken. It just makes it happier for me, and I couldn't resist. I've enjoyed my poppies so much. I always do. They're like one of the main highlights of my whole year, not just the gardening year. I just look forward to them so much. So I thought, well, why not? I do hens and poppies a lot. They are definitely like a theme that I come back to every year. And I thought, well, maybe that's really boring of me, but I think we just have certain things that we really love, and hens and poppies for me are just something that I think I will always love. Maybe there will come a point when something else replaces them, but I felt pretty secure in thinking that I would enjoy this for quite a few years. So I, this was a way that I could bring my poppies, which only last about a month in my garden because the heat by now is too extreme for them. So now I have poppies in my kitchen all year round, and I'm not sorry, and I'm not sorry that I'm having that I have a couple chickens on my cabinets, which these are we had a pair of light Sussex hens when we first started taking chickens in, and their names were Abby and Fernie, and they were sisters, and they were beautiful, and they were always together, and I love to see them out there together. So they come up in my art a lot because I just think that light Sussex with the black speckles on their neck is just such a beautiful hen, and looks so beautiful out in the grass when you see them. So they're one that I paint a lot. So I'm just doing, I decided I would do 3 poppies in each panel, and I wanted the kind of like the vessel that they came out of to be different for each one. The chickens obviously are kind of standing in for a pot or a pitcher or whatever. The poppies are coming out of the chickens' backs. That may seem weird to you, so if you don't like that or aren't just into hens, you could do any. A duck would be beautiful, but pitchers or just a very, very simple pot like I did for the first one is an option. Also, an option would be not to do any sort of vessel at all, but just to have the stems coming down at the bottom of the panel and just being loose and free. There are all sorts of ways you can do this, and I was thinking about morning glories. That's another flower that's very meaningful to me because my grandma grew them and they were very important to her to have every year. So I thought morning glories would be a beautiful one. You could do kind of more I mean, you could do a structured design, but you could also just have them like twining everywhere. So that would be a much more like free form design that could just, you know, could ramble up one cabinet, and, you know, one cabinet panel could have a ton of morning glories and one could just have one little vine of them coming up. So I think that would be a really neat thing to try. I don't know if I have the right place to do that, but I'm going to keep it in mind. Anyway, yeah, it just got this was really fun and not as difficult and scary as I thought it would be. And of course scary with like a small s, because goodness, like there's enough actual scary things going on that I don't want to make it seem like painting some flowers on furniture is like a truly scary, frightening thing. It's just it's like a risk with a lowercase r, you know, and a creative risk that I hadn't taken, and it was definitely worth it and very enjoyable and kind of relaxing. And I actually wish I had a few more ugly pieces of furniture sitting around that I could that I could experiment on. I have been having a hard time doing much art at all, and I mentioned that in the last little garden video that I shared, and this was the first thing I had done since I did some little poppy paintings to send out in some mail about that time, like right after I did that garden video in May. And then I, you know, have just really focused on actually doing the gardening and that kind of work and these home projects, and haven't really known where to go with my art this summer. I mentioned to someone who was so kind to reach out with an email to me to check on me. I just said, I'm just having trouble with my art right now because it seems kind of irrelevant or unimportant, and I don't know, you know, how do I use my art in a time that seems so fraught, and it seems like we all need to be using whatever platform we have to communicate kindness and care and compassion and empathy and all of those things that seem to be missing from so much of, I don't know, our culture, I guess, and just the actual things that are happening. And her response was really interesting and I think true. And she said, but art matters now more than ever, whether or not it seems whimsical or frivolous or childish or whatever it would be, whatever you think your art is or just not relevant. It is because it brings joy and it helps, you know, it spreads joy to other people and it gives people comfort, and that's very true. And that is something that I have known at times, and that I guess I just keep forgetting, or that I convince myself isn't true. So I thought that is true, and that's part of why I decided to actually share this video, even though it isn't kind of typically what we would do for a make-along, and I know that not all of you will be as interested, but I do want to continue to show up and be here to encourage and just share together, because that it is important that we have this place where we come together and celebrate beautiful things, or celebrate you know, a flower, a hen, making a little spot in our home a little bit more beautiful. That is still important, because those are things that help us get through these really difficult times. Okay, so I knew a few of you might ask or be interested in what brushes I use and like paint colors and stuff. I don't have fancy brushes. I don't ever use fancy brushes for anything, even for watercolor. And in fact, I've lost my favorite. It was really roughed up and in bad shape, but I had like a larger like round tip brush, and I don't know where it is. That would have been handy for this project. This is the kind, what I mean by a round tip. This is a little bit larger one, but I had one that was bigger than that and I can't find it. So I ended up using mostly these kind of flat tip brushes. And it was fine because I'm just doing kind of a folky style and not trained to be, you know, very, very detailed or correct, botanically correct. So these are all just the kind of thing that I've picked up either at thrift stores or like in cheapy packs, like when I need to have a bunch for kids to paint with. My friend did send me some of these with this kind of plastic handle, and she said they're very affordable, and I think she gets them at Michael's, but it might have been I can't remember. Anyway, it says Crafter's Choice. So you can pick some of those up, and those are kind of a smaller set for fine details. And then I'm using just my acrylic craft paints. I just had kind of a variety of reds, like, primary red. One of them is engine red, lipstick red, so kind of whatever red you like, or a mix of reds. This is one of my favorite colors, is this coral in the folk art brand. I use a lot of folk art. There's also this deco art, which is okay. I think it's Craft Smart is a craft paint that you can find, and I don't usually think I like that very well. It is like, the texture is not nice. Then there's just like a mustard color. This is a wrought iron that I used to deepen my green. And then just some other, I'm not going to use all of these today. And I used this for my off-white. It's just a sample of bare wall paint. And then I'm using my cabinet color. So this is called Juniper. It's a Sherwin Williams color. The cabinet is actually, it's this mixed with some kind of off-white. So I tried to go just a shade up so that I had kind of a contrasting cabinet. And then I thought that the green leaves would show up better on a slightly lighter green than what this is. So I'm going to use this, which is my cabinet paint or my trim paint, and just darken it up a little bit with the charcoal. And then while I'm talking to you here, I wanted to show you, because I've had a lot of neat things come in the mail. And someone, I couldn't believe it when I unwrapped these. And I could tell you her name, but I don't know if she's okay with it, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to say a friend from Arkansas. Is it Arkansas? I have to look on my little address label. Here we go. Is it Arkansas? Yes, Benton, Arkansas. I don't know if she was familiar with the Country Bunny before, or if she just kind of fell in love with it from the tutorial, but she made me a pair of little gold shoes, which is just like the sweetest thing ever. And she made a spun cotton strawberry too. So she sent me those, and they will, kind of like in the book, they hang on a special hook on the wall, and I will have a special hook in my art room for those. And then I want to show you a few of the artistic cards you guys send me. This is from a dear friend. I'm not going to say names because I don't know if people are comfortable, but from Massachusetts, and she just sends me the best mail. Her mail is like, it's so cool. And anyway, I wanted to show you this one in particular because look, she does always she's doing like mice doing things and up to things. And so this is a little mouse in a craft nook. I love all the details. Look at the little jar of cornstarch, and some spun cotton sheep. And then the mouse is making a spun cotton mouse. And here are some that she's already made, and some spun cotton strawberries. So it's just, isn't that just like too sweet? And then here is some beautiful work that someone made, the spun cotton strawberry pins, and then I assume she also embroidered all of these things, which is gorgeous embroidery. So she sent, this is a photo of those things, and that's from another friend from New York, I think. Here's another friend from California. Sorry, that's my dog sneezing. She's been sending me watercolor cards that she makes that are so fun and cute, and she writes long letters to me, so thank you to her. Oh, and this is another little, like my friend who did the little mouse one. She always puts in a whole bunch of other little happy pieces of art. So she's been doing badgers lately, and that naughty badger is fighting with the squirrel, it looks like. So, and then here's just a beautiful card from another friend that might be watching from Colorado, and she sent me a lovely letter. And that's not everything that I've received, but those were things that were just pretty recent. So I wanted to give a little shout out, even though I didn't say names. Very, very appreciated. It cheers me on. Okay, so I thought let's just do a quick poppy here. If you want to try to do this, if you want to be brave and try painting on a cabinet, if you feel too, anxious about just actually going straight onto your cabinet, then just go ahead and practice on just a junky sheet of paper, and that way you can see what you're going to be able to do or get an idea for it and have a little practice before you start. Okay, let's see if we can just do a picture and some poppies quickly. So just a very rudimentary picture shape, which is basically kind of a U, maybe a fancy U, or a horseshoe kind of. Okay, and then bring your handle around however you want it to be shaped. Okay, and there we have kind of that ubiquitous cream pitcher shape. My grandma had this light blue cream pitcher that I loved. It was pretty little. Well, most cream pitchers are. And I just thought it was so cute. Sky blue, the same color as her kitchen, and I would pick these everlasting peas, which I thought she called them a wild sweet pea, and they are related to that, but they're like the perennial version of a sweet pea, and they don't have the scent. But I loved to pick those. Oops. Oh goodness. Okay. A beetle was in sweet peas. Don't worry, he doesn't even, I didn't use that much paint, so he doesn't have paint on him. Anyway, he went back into the sweet peas. Oh, I had set my brushes to the side. Okay, now if you want to do a little bit of shading, or I don't know, just making this a bit more interesting for colors, not so samey, you can. Actually, I'm going to put a bit of green in here. Boy, it's a buggy. I can see a little tiny, oh, I think it's off the camera, but I have another tiny bug crawling off the edge of my page. I've been bringing in flowers, but a lot of herbs actually, because we're getting to that really hot time of year where things start to kind of go past their nice point. And so I brought in a ton of mint yesterday to dry. Oh, it came back on. It's probably too tiny to, you might be able to see it if you're an eagle eye. So I brought in a bunch of mint. Then I was trying to like soak it and clean it up to dry. And I think I don't know how many, 10 spiders at least that I rescued off that mint and had to put back outside. Kind of slowed me down a little bit, but I think I managed to save most of them. Now, what I found this morning that I'm not happy about is that the blister beetles have come and they are defoliating my clematis, which I hate. I hate to see it. And in fact, they can come very close to killing things, so I'm gonna have to watch that. Blister beetles are so nasty. Such a yucky bug. In fact, I try to like most bugs, but I'm telling you, when you look at a blister beetle, it's like they're looking back at you. And they are like nervy. Like they look at me like, what are you gonna do to me? And they're right, there isn't a lot I can do, unless I'm willing to sacrifice pollinators. So they know. Okay, so to make your poppy flower, I just am doing like a wavy donut shape, or maybe a squiggly oval. I didn't bother making any individual petals, and I didn't use any paint on the inside, or the, you know, kind of the center part of the poppy. That is typically either like lighter or darker than the rest. So there's usually like a black splotch in the center or more of a white splotch in the center, and I went with a lighter one. You don't need to stress over your shape at all. It's just kind of an impression of something, and it doesn't need to be perfect. You can add some kind of, you know, pink or white if you have it for some highlights or just for a little bit of interest, but just a plain red squiggly oval will look a lot like a stencil. And if you add stuff in and you don't like it, then you just you can just go over it, because that is one of the beauties of acrylic paint, right? You can keep painting over until you get, typically you can. I mean, there would be times when maybe that wouldn't be as possible, but for the most part you can correct things that you are not as happy with. And I just think these leaves are a place to get kind of graceful and whimsical. Do them however makes you happy. They're not exactly how a poppy leaf is, but they are the idea of it, close enough that everyone will recognize it. If they didn't recognize it from the flower form itself, then the leaf will kind of help identify what you want it to be. Okay. And then the centers I fussed around with a lot more on my cabinets because they weren't showing up very well against my darker green background color. But it's quite simple. If you're going on a lighter color, you don't really need to do that much. And you can do green for the little spots, which are like kind of the stamens. And they could be yellow, like some poppies have yellow stamens and some are black. You could add in a little yellow if you want to. You could add a little yellow in your center here, and I will probably add some white because I think it helps set that off a little bit. And that's all that you have to, I mean, you can get more detailed, but that's all that you really, that's all that you need to do to give yourself the look of kind of a folky design, to put on any piece of furniture. I don't know. I'm enjoying my cabinet a lot, and that's really all I did. I might have spent a little bit more time fleshing it out a tiny bit, but this would do the trick, and you see that it's really, there's not much to it. It's not, doesn't require any particular skill or great technique, in my opinion. I think that most people could do what I just did here, so I hope that you will try it. I don't know how my camera just did something really interesting. It started itself. I flipped it around because I was like, oh, I should recreate my kooky selfie from like 8 years ago with my coffee cup, but I have a new coffee cup because that one did get broken. So this is my new favorite coffee cup, and I have many more wrinkles and longer hair, and I was thinking, oh, not to make that, but I thought, oh, maybe it was just my bob haircut that made me look younger, but I think that the 8 years are showing. But my kitchen, I would say, has greatly improved in those 8 years, although it still is, I don't have that wall done, but the cabinets look very nice. Anyway, I just wanted to come on because I've been trying to edit this video this morning, and I've been editing for a couple days, which is crazy because it's a pretty short video and I thought it was going to be not that involved. And that's kind of the story of most videos for me, is that they just take me way more time to edit than what they ought to, especially for as poorly edited as they are. But I fuss and I can't decide what to cut, and I patch things together badly, and I don't get the footage that I needed to, and so I just struggle, and I got really, my eyes have just been really tired lately. I'm not doing well, you know, with reading text on devices when my eyes are tired. And I started just having that kind of double vision where all the text is double. And it kind of flips me out. It actually really flips me out. That's one of my triggers, is when my eyes get really tired, because I've talked about anxiety and health anxiety before. So I had a little flip out, and I had to put my legs up the cabinet and just close my eyes and try to calm down. And I went out and picked some herbs for my herbal calming tea, hormone and anxiety balancing tea that I make, that I shared in the last video. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I want to be here more, and I hate that I come on and promise to be back soon and then I'm not. And the main thing is that the editing is really killing me. I just hate it so much. I can hardly bring myself to do it. And then when I get triggered by it, that just kind of, that can shut me down. So I would appreciate suggestions. If you really do want to hear from me, or, you know, not necessarily see me like you're seeing me, but hear from me and do art with me more often, if you had suggestions for how I could actually get that done. And I'm sorry, but I cannot hire a video editor, because at this point I don't make anything from these videos. I used to be, last year I was selling supply kits pretty well, and that was making some money, but I have always just turned that right into the animal sanctuary account. So I don't actually make that. I mean, in theory, like, these videos were bringing in money, but I don't actually like use any of it personally. And then I was able to monetize the channel at the end of last year because I was getting enough views and things. So I did that, and I was making like $100 a month at the end of last year, but I was getting a ton more views on my videos at that point, and I've had like $100 in AdSense for this year. So things have like, and I think that has to do with my inconsistency showing up. And also I do think it has had to do with me mentioning, even though I don't talk about politics, I just mentioned that I'm not a supporter of what's happening. In fact, I find it just really heartbreaking. And so that has turned some people off, and I think views have just gone down. So anyway, hiring a video editor is not a possibility right now. But if you have an idea for how I could somehow bring you more regular content that would require less editing, I don't know what that would be exactly, but if you follow other creators here who are somehow doing that, producing some sort of content that would not require a ton of editing, I would appreciate. And I know I'm also like really poor about comments, and part of that is because, as I mentioned, I've said things, you know, honestly about how I feel about our political leadership, and so I've had more upset, mean comments, and that has made reading comments even harder and more dreadful in the sense of I dread reading them. So although the vast majority are so kind and supportive, but when you come upon the bad ones, that for me is just it's just really unnerving. Anyway, so that's just the honest place of where I am and why I don't show up here in a consistent way. And I'm sorry, because I really appreciate you guys, and I feel like I really know a lot of you, and I think of you as friends and kindred creative spirits, and I would like to provide something here, but I'm struggling with some of my own issues being able to do that. So that's where I am. Okay, I have my calming herb tea, my kind of the mix I make that is stuff that's supposed to be good for anxiety and for some hormone balancing. I shared it in the last video. So that's what I did when I got flipped out, that I went out and gathered my herbs and made myself my tea. And now I am just trying to finish up the last little clip for this video, which has just been never ending, it seems. So I just wanted to mention, this is probably what I will use as my top coat or my sealant for the cabinet, but I know that a few of you mentioned using some sort of wax. If any of you wants to drop in the comments what that wax is, I might try it. I don't have any, right now, but I assume I can find it at, someplace, a home store. So let me know what you think for sealing it. And if you made it this far, thank you for getting through a kind of a weird video. I really appreciate you all, and I hope there was something here that was interesting or helpful to you. And I hope that a few of you will be inspired or even empowered after seeing me do this and seeing how simple it really is. I hope that you will want to try it yourself, because it is not really as difficult as you might think, and it is a lot of fun, and there's not really that much to lose, and what you gain might be a really joyful little beauty spot in your home that you can get a little boost from. So thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate each one of you. I wish you happy making, and if you stay tuned, there is just a little walkabout of my vegetable garden, and then you will see a few clips of the animals. I will see you when I see you. Little rain yesterday, half an inch yesterday morning, and then again this morning we had 70 hundredths. So the gardens had a really good water for the week, and I had come out and tied things up after yesterday morning's rain, so things aren't as droopy as they were yesterday, and they're kind of, there's an nasturtium that's kind of flopped over there, but most things are kind of looking good and resettled. This is borage. A lot of you will know it. I haven't raised it in several years. It used to self-seed some places, and then it just kind of got, I don't know, crowded out or whatever. It dropped itself over into a walkway. I'm just loving it this year, and the bees really love it. They aren't out yet after the rain, but I'm sure they will be out later when all of the drippiness is over. These are my squash, my winter squash plants, and I'm using them to shade my greens, which I do have to net so they don't just get eaten by the grasshoppers. My mustard, I need to let some wasps out of there. My mustard greens have been so good, but they are getting kind of done, and I have to keep pulling off the where they're wanting to flower. And come on, guys, there we go. They're kind of disoriented. Those aren't wasps. I don't know what that is. Maybe one of you can tell me. Bolting is what I should say. They are trying. There they go. Some runner beans, turnips, onions, which my sister gave me starts for my dill. I don't have cucumbers yet, so I mean I'm eating it, but it's flowering and I keep trying to pick them off. Anyway, and lots of tomatoes, because my goal for myself this year was that I would try to, Nettie eats a lot of pasta, and I thought I would try to can all of our own tomato sauce for the year. I used to just can, just stewed tomatoes. I may do quite a bit of that, but I was going to try to can 50 jars of ready-made pasta sauce so that I just have it ready to go. So we'll see what happens. But right now, all the plants are looking healthy and promising, and they've just had a really good season so far. We've been really lucky we haven't had a ton of rain, and we are definitely still in a moderate drought. I mean, we are down like 6 inches of rain for the year, but the rain has been spread out well enough that it's really saved things. It's come when we've really needed it. So anyway, so that's the vegetable garden. Here's a little bee friend. Oops. I'm disturbing her, but anyway, she's the first bee on the borage this morning. Oh, she's going over to that other plant.